is sad and tragic that we are at a time in history when our city has enough wealth, has $71 billion, and instead of preserving and expanding these public treasures, they are being defunded, and that defunding is being used as an excuse to sell off our public libraries. We need these libraries more than ever. Libraries, statistically, are proven to decrease the crime rate, to decrease the dropout rate from high school, and they help people get jobs, and they help businesses to grow. So when we found out about the Brooklyn Heights Library, we found out that that's not the only library being sold off. We found out that they want to sell off the Mid-Manhattan Library, the largest library, the most well-used library in the entire country. And they want to sell off the Science, Industry, Business, Technology Library in Manhattan, the most well-used library for people looking for jobs. And we found out that they want to sell off the Pacific Library. So we soon joined with other groups of people who also started petitions. So here today we are joined by citizens and by groups of people who have started their own petitions to protect our public libraries. Michael is standing here and his arms are about to fall off because he's holding.
This is what a petition looks like with 15,000 electronic signatures annexed. This is what it's like when it's printed out. Now we actually have more than that. We've got over 16,000 signatures because to sign this electronically you have to have an email address and not everyone does. So at the end of this ceremony, this is going to be presented to Mayor Bloomberg. We're going to form a line, and in Fireman's Brigade fashion, we are going to hand it, one member of us to the other, down the line, and then we're going to walk it in from the last person to Mayor Bloomberg. Comptroller Liu has been extraordinarily helpful to us and very concerned about this issue. Comptroller, would you like to know how heavy this is?
Very heavy.
I'd like to
That's
ask
a lot of signatures, 15,000 signatures.
I'd like to ask Comptroller Liu to say a few words.
Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Carolyn and Michael. Excuse me. And Michael, I thank you very much for the kind words. I don't think I'm being supportive, really. I'm being self-centered and selfish because these libraries are my libraries. These libraries are the same libraries that I grew up in when I was a kid. This was my after-school program. And now my son is 12 years old. He's a frequent user, a frequent visitor of the libraries. So when we're out here, I'm not here just to support you. I'm here because I need the libraries. My family needs the libraries. All New Yorkers need the libraries. And the reality is that Carolyn is right. We are a very wealthy city with an annual budget of a little more than $70 billion. The problem is that it hasn't been a priority for this administration to maintain and upkeep the libraries in our city. And over the years, they have starved the libraries, the public libraries, of resources to the point where they now claim that there's a situation with some of these buildings that needs drastic actions. Well, they created the situation. It's up to the administration to fix it. And we do have the resources so that we don't have to sell off these valuable public assets to private developers. There was never a fire to begin with. There's no need for a fire sale of our public assets. Once we lose them, we never get it back. And whether it be libraries or parkland or school space or NYCHA properties, we need to keep the public assets in the hands of the public. And that certainly is true with the libraries. Thank you very much.
Save our libraries!
Save our libraries!
Save our libraries!
Save our libraries!
And now we'd like to introduce Letitia James, who's fought a fierce battle with the public advocate position. The elections are coming up, and we'd like to invite you to speak because you also have been standing with us from the beginning to protect our public libraries.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Tish, would you like to?
No, that's okay. Okay. First, I want to thank Carolyn and Michael, but today I dedicate my fight to save libraries to Congressmember Major Owens. Congressmember Major Owens, who passed away last night, who was a former librarian. Congressmember Major Owens, who several months ago simply asked that his mural be placed in the Grand Army Plaza Library. And I dedicate my next career, my next position as the public advocate, to get a mural placed in the Grand Army Plaza Library on behalf of Congressmember Major Owens. We will not forget him. A former librarian who I'm sure would have stood with us to save libraries, because he recognized that libraries are a part of our fabric, a part of our civic life. They're a part of all that we stand for. They represent our values. And so to tear down libraries and to build more luxury condos does not represent my values. As someone whose mother placed me in a library because she knew it was a safe haven, because she knew that the most important place for her daughter was in a library, because she recognized the value of education, and she knew that I would be safe. Someone who every day when they go downtown to the Brooklyn Heights Library, see countless number of individuals who are unemployed, who are simply looking for a job. Individuals who are trying to get a GED because they recognize that education is the key to success. And the Pacific Heights Library, a library that was part of a development that I postponed because I did not want to see the Pacific Street Library demolished on my watch. And so the Girl Scouts who meet at the Pacific Street Library, this is for them. For the countless number of children who meet at libraries, this is for you. For all the individuals who are struggling under the weight of poverty, this is for you. And lastly, for Congressmember Major Owens, whose legacy will live on through all of us as we stand up to save our libraries. As the next public advocate, I vow to keep up the fight to save our libraries.
Save our libraries! Save our libraries! Save our libraries! Save our libraries!
Save our libraries.
So in addition to our petition that has over 15,000 online signatures, plus hundreds of thousands of offline signatures, we have a few other petitions here. And the petition that Letitia James mentioned from the Girl Scouts. This is the Girl Scouts petition. And I've been invited to represent this petition, which says, libraries change the world. This is the words of the Girl Scouts who use the Pacific Library. Our Girl Scout meetings are held there. The Girl Scouts need this space. The world depends on libraries for kids' education. Office space does not help make the world a better place. Libraries and Girl Scouts does. This library is part of this neighborhood. It has been around since 1903, and our kids love it. This is one of the libraries, the first Andrew Carnegie Library, built in New York, is one of the ones that they want to sell. And we are attempting to protect it, and at the same time they are continuing to try to sell it. So you see the disconnect between the leadership, the Bloomberg-driven administration leadership of this library that is actively working to sell off our public assets. We see it happening to our schools and our hospitals, and now it's happening to our libraries. And I'm going to read another statement from people who have signed our petition online. This is from a librarian. They've already destroyed the age-level services that we spent generations building and have totally demoralized the staff by ending training and support. So the attack is not just hurting us, it's not just creating division in our community, it is hurting the librarians, it is hurting the staff, and it's hurting the patrons who use the library. And when Letitia said that people show up to use the library who are looking for jobs, she's right. We have met with hundreds of thousands and talked with hundreds of thousands of people coming in and out of the library when we are canvassing for our petition. And I will never forget the day, this summer, on the hottest day, when 8 libraries in Brooklyn were closed, supposedly because they can't fix an air conditioner. Excuse me, if they can't fix an air conditioner, then they are either inadequate, incompetent, or there's another agenda going on. So 8 libraries were closed on one day, the hottest day of the year. I knew that people would be showing up to use the library. So I went and stood in front of the Brooklyn Heights Library. Sure enough, within an hour, about 30 people had shown up to use the library. And I will never forget the woman who showed up with her 19-year-old son. And I asked her, "Why are you here?" She said, "We just came from another library that was closed." She was with her 19-year-old son. I said, "Why?" She said, "Because we're here to help him. I'm here to help him download job applications and to get a job." Now, how do you think the sense of hopelessness and despair that anyone would naturally feel, having spent most of their day going from one closed library to another closed library? And what does that do to our economy, to spread this sense of hopelessness and despair? We say to Mayor Bloomberg that what you are doing, if you continue this policy of selling off libraries, you are increasing a sense of a few people are worth and count for everything, the rest count for practically nothing. But we stand here today to affirm the right of all of us to the free, open spaces. And this is what patriotism looks like. This is what hope looks like. And this is what love looks like. And now I'd like to introduce Jumaane Williams, a city council person.
Thank you. I was just walking by. I didn't know what was going on, so I stopped and saw that we're trying to save our libraries. So I figured I got to stop by because it's very important. Now, the mayor, I'm not surprised because most recently he said we didn't have enough billionaires in the city. He also said that the lack of affordable housing is good because it attracts people who want to build housing in the city. So I know he's way off base when it comes to things that people need in this city, and libraries is another case. We can't cut after school programs and all the things that help our young people in this city learn and grow and then turn around and say that we're going to sell off libraries. It makes no sense. It is not a luxury to have a library in your community. It is a staple. It is something that communities must have for that community to bloom and for that community to grow. We have young people going there. We have unemployed people going there. We have senior citizens going there. We have teachers going there. The community goes to the library for anything that they may need, whether it be research, whether it may be resume building, whether it may be because they don't have access to online services if that library were closed. We need the mayor to understand that this is not a luxury. This is a necessity in the city of New York, and every community should have more than one option of a library to go to, and we should be imploring everybody, not only to save the libraries, but do as much as they can to make them better. And I'm so happy to see you guys here today. I want to thank you so much for keeping the mantle going, and anything that I can do, we're gonna do. The only good news is, on December 31st, it's gonna be a beautiful day in the city of New York. Thank you very much.
Yes, we are getting a new mayor. Last night I saw on television Bill de Blasio's daughter, and she said, "We can't tear down hospitals in order to put up condos." And this is the same thing. I'm so happy that Tish James has been with us from the start. Bill de Blasio has had an event with us on 42nd Street The public advocate's job is to make sure that the mayor follows through on doing the right thing, and I'm looking forward to the future. Now, I'd like Patti Hagan to come forward and say a few words about the Pacific branch specifically. The new council district maps have been drawn up, and I noticed when I looked at the maps for Brad Lander's district that the pictogram that shows where all the libraries was there for every library except Pacific Street. It's as if it's not there figuratively. Well, I don't want that to be the reality. Patti will tell us about the library.
Hi, I happen to live close to the Pacific Branch Library. The Brooklyn Public Library, an entirely misguided institution, is intent on selling off the Pacific Branch, which is Brooklyn's first Carnegie Library. And it has been long since common law landmarked by the neighborhood. And we are asking the Landmarks Preservation Commission to landmark it promptly and save it from the Brooklyn Public Library's misguided plan. It was built in 1903. It is an architectural gem, and the Brooklyn Public Library wants to sell it to the developer next door, Bruce Ratner, who already took over 22 acres by eminent domain abuse of the Prospect Heights and Brooklyn Park Slope neighborhood. It is a beauty, and you have to ask, why would a library in its right mind sell off such a historic and beautiful building? The reason Linda Johnson, the CEO of the Brooklyn Public Library, says is because it has outlived its usefulness. It needs repairs, the air conditioning. Oh yeah, libraries existed for thousands of years ere there was air conditioning. By such illogic, all Brooklyn's old buildings should be done away with. Old people, to me, we're too old for red-hot 21st century branded Brooklyn. I would say that instead of sacrificing our beloved historic libraries to land-grabbing developers, and that includes Brooklyn Heights and the Central Library, to destroy and shrink into basement footnotes of pedestrian luxury skyscraper condos, fix them. And Brooklyn Public Library CEO Lyndon Johnson calls it the cultural condo concept. You build a luxury condo and put a little bitty fragment of a library in the basement. No way.
This is Marjorie Horowitz. Marjorie Horowitz started a petition immediately after finding out about the Brooklyn Heights Library, and our petitions have been running parallel, so I would like for her to speak about her petition.
Speak as loudly as you can.
Hi, I'm from Cadman Towers, which is 2 buildings right practically next to the Brooklyn Heights Library. Back on February 12th, when we heard they were closing, we put a petition down in our 2 lobbies, and within 3 days we got almost everybody, 267 people, to sign this, because at that point we thought it was just isolated. They were closing the library for air conditioning. We're buildings with a majority of seniors. A lot of people don't have online access. We all use the libraries, we all love it, and we all just hope that we can stop this demolition. Thank you.
Marjorie's petition has 264 signatures from people living in Cadman Towers, many of whom do not have computer access. They need these libraries. And in our own church, people started to fill out cards about the libraries and what it meant to them, even without us asking them to. So I'll read a couple of them. Dear New York City Council of NYPL, I have been using the Mid-Manhattan Library for many years and find it a wonderful place, not only to read books, but just to take a load off and relax in the midst of a busy city. Please keep this wonderful resource open. And from another writer, our public libraries serve as the town square of our communities. Please keep them public. And what we see happening is the libraries are being sold off and shrunk. They're using these words like digital, like we don't need them, we don't need the space. Everybody, library will be an app. And believe me, if they get away with selling these 4 that we've mentioned, they will continue to sell libraries. And we will have very few spaces that provide sanctuary, structure, and stability in our society and education.
The first library they sold was to Nell. They sold it to shrink it down to less than a third size. It was a major library. The model of Donnell is being carried out all over the city. In Manhattan, it's being carried out in the consolidating shrinkage of the Central Library Plan, and Ted Grunewald is going to talk to us about it.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Over almost 2 years ago, the scholars Joan Scott and Stanley Katz began an online petition once plans were revealed concerning the Central Library. Now, the branch library situation is critical to the lifeblood of this city, but equally critical is the situation with the Central Library. Manhattan has an unparalleled research tool, which is world class. It's one of the 3 greatest research libraries in the world. It's on par only with the Bibliothèque Nationale and the British National Library. This is the New York Public Library Central Research Library is one of the has the greatest depth and breadth of any collection that is accessible to any member of the general public. This is what's unique about this collection. Unlike the Bibliothèque Nationale, unlike the British National Library, any citizen of New York can use these incredible resources. Now, Joan Scott and Stanley Katz heard about this plan to sell the Mid-Manhattan Library, which everyone knows is the circulating library across the street from the main branch, and move that facility into the main branch. In fact, to take the place of the stacks beneath the main reading room. The only way you can fit this circulating library into the main branch is to remove all 7 levels of the book stacks that service the Rose Reading Room. Now, when this building was designed in 1912 by Carrere and Hastings, this was envisioned as a great book delivery machine. It was designed to get your research materials into your hands as quickly as humanly possible. Well, I remember using this room for years, and it would take no longer than 15 or 20 minutes to get materials. It was remarkable. Now, with the Central Library Plan, which the library, by the way, is recasting, it's basically unchanged. They're still moving the circulating library into the former space occupied by the stacks. 1.5 million volumes of the core research collection will be moved into permanent storage remotely in New Jersey, of all places. Now, to put a request in now, instead of taking minutes, it'll be a matter of days. And the resources expended in trucking over books over the Jersey Turnpike and the pollution and the wear and tear on the books is unacceptable. None of these books are digitized. They are all vital to researchers who come from all over the world, who, when doing research, can't wait 2 or 3 or 4 days in their research. Scholars are not like Michael Bloomberg. They don't have the money to spend on a hotel room for a few days. They've got to get their work done quickly and efficiently. So we're also here to protest the destruction of this magnificent book delivery machine. And, as Ada Louise Huxtable, the famous New York Times critic, put it, you don't destroy a masterpiece. You probably have noticed some of the signs, $300,000 plus, $350,000 plus. What is this about? Well, the estimated cost of the gutting of the Central Library is beginning. That's the entry-level figure for this incredible structural gymnastics that has to take place. And shrinkage. Remember, we're also stuffing the Science, Business, and Industry Library into that space, along with the collections of mid-Manhattan, actually occupying a smaller footprint than either of those two buildings. So there's something of a shell game going on here. But I want you to consider, when this city is faced with libraries, branch libraries across the system that need major capital improvement, they need air conditioning, they need computers, they need programming, they need books. And to wastefully spend $350 million on one project when so many libraries are in dire need is criminal. Just 3 years ago, a central library was created in the Bronx. The approximate cost was about $200 million. Was it $200 million? I think it was about $20 million for the Bronx library. So just imagine how many more, 50, was it 50? Okay, 20 to 50 million. So just imagine how many more branch libraries could be helped if this foolish central library plan were stopped. Thank you.
Thank you, Theodore. Save the libraries!
Save the libraries!
Save the libraries!
Save our libraries!
So, we are also joined by candidate Randy Credico. Do you want to say?
Well, if you want me to, but they've said everything.
They've said everything? Okay. I do want to mention two other things that's happening to our libraries, which is, if you haven't noticed yet, books are disappearing from the libraries. Books are disappearing from all the libraries. Where are they going? What is happening to our books? What are they doing with our books? Please take note. Lots and lots of libraries now have empty bookshelves. And it's not just the ones that they want to sell. What is happening to our library books? We, the public, own those library books. Excuse me, Mayor Bloomberg. We have helped pay for and support these services. And along with removing books from libraries, the current library leadership, the strategy group, is repurposing the entire library system. So now we see frequent closings of the main library for private events. And the latest is they hired a wedding planner. So now we can have billionaire weddings and close the library. So when they have sold off the 34th Street Library and they've sold off Mid-Manhattan, which serve about over 2 million people a year, and then one night when they're going to have a billionaire's wedding, where are all those people going to go? Have they thought about that?
I want to thank the citizens who are here today. This is really the worst example of an administration that seeks to sell off public assets in this city. The library is the best symbol of community that we have. A community-owned institution that is part of our educational institution that serves people in every community, all walks of life, all ages. It is so important, yet the city views it simply as a real estate opportunity. And I am appalled by it. That's why I'm here today, and I join my neighbors and my constituents and people who really care about the city that we know as being open and available to all of its citizens. So thank you very much, and let's keep the fight going.
My name is Joan Davis. I'm with the Gray Panthers, and I think that while the media is recalcitrant and does not give us all the news and tries to convince us that gossip is news in order to avoid major issues, we need libraries for information. We need libraries for information. and that is our right. Without that, we cannot be educated, we cannot know what's going on, and we cannot be the last people to know when there is an emergency. Thank you very much.
One of our candidates for mayor, who spoke very eloquently at a number of our occasions, including our mayoral forum on libraries, is Randy Credico. So I'd like Randy to say a few more words.
They've heard it all. There's not much I can add. Thank you very much. Yes, I was a Democratic candidate for mayor. I got 2.5% without spending a nickel. I want you to know that. But I had a well-educated, library-going crowd that voted for me because I've been on this issue from the very outset. I'm a big supporter. I hope that Bill de Blasio doesn't become Bill de Bloombergzio when he becomes mayor. But there's a good chance that may happen because his tax plan will not raise the revenue to keep the public schools and the libraries from being shut down to raise revenue. That will not it will not pass Albany legislature, as the good Senator Montgomery will tell you. So what he's got to do is tax Wall Street. That's all he's got to do is a 0.5% sales tax on Wall Street. We could roll back the damage that's already been inflicted on the library system and increase the library system. We can turn Rikers Island into a giant library. And I know where those books are going, by the way. They're going to Mayor Bloomberg's island in the Caribbean. Because as you know, Mr. Bloomberg, you once said, it's nice to have libraries, but we are at a time when we need to save the land because we have to get necesitamos a poner más casas grandísimo para los hombres ricos. I don't know, his Spanish is worse than George Bush's English. Now, I am on the ballot, folks. I am on the ballot with the Tax Wall Street Party. I am a Democrat. There are 2 Democrats. You have to put the pressure on de Blasio, who's a friend of mine. You got to put the pressure on him to roll back what's been done. Definitely keep that library open in Brooklyn, Pacific Heights Library. It is the Library of Alexandria. It is beautiful. And let's roll back, keep the stacks. Thank you very much. And our friend over there will push Andrew Cuomo into giving us that little income tax. Thank you.
I think it's amazing that we would spend what may be close to $500 million to take more than 350,000 square feet of library space and reduce that down to only 80,000 square feet. I mean, that's utterly amazing. I'm going to ask James Lane, who's a candidate for public advocate and participated in our public advocates forum on libraries, to say a few words. James? Green Party candidate.
Hey everyone. Yes, as you mentioned, I'm the Green Party candidate for public advocate. And when I first found out about this issue, I actually found out about it a little bit before your group reached out to me through a fellow Green that mentioned to me about the environmental impact of this. To have these books transported out of the state and then transfer them back and forth when you need them. Just the whole cost of gas and moving and transportation just does not make sense. As was mentioned earlier, currently with the stacks, you can get your research material within 15 minutes. That's crucial. This is vital. And this library project, the central library project, is, as was mentioned before, which is always tricky being near the end of the talks, is another attack on our information, on our intelligence. The media loves to dumb us down. They love to just pump us full of reality TV shows, but they're not promoting this issue. And I cannot believe that this isn't like the front page of every newspaper. It's not the main story on every news program instead of like the 30 minutes of weather reports that we get. This should be right up there. I mean, kids are dying in the street because they have nothing to do because there's no community centers. The fallback for community centers when I was growing up was a library. You know, that's where I spent a lot of my childhood. And, you know, my son, he's 8 years old now. When he was first born, well, not when he was first born, but when he was old enough to read to and, you know, and talk to and show them pictures. And we spend so much time in the libraries, and this is vital for our citizens, for our youth. We cannot say that the youth is our future and then take away the tools that our future needs. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about running for public advocate, because personally, I feel that the current public advocate should have said something to the public about this. And that's why I'm running. And Tish is probably going to win with 90% of the votes, because she's loved and is great. But I have a little bit concerns because she's buddies with de Blasio. But I'm not going to talk about all that right now. But all I'm going to say is that I'm just really concerned of, if we don't keep an eye on our elected officials, that things like this will happen, and they'll happen without any support. And it's up to you, groups like you that actually organize within like several months. You have a great, powerful movement, and I'm so proud that you reached out to me and let me speak at your forum. You let me speak now, and I'm going to support you until this fight is over, because this has to be stopped. Selling off our public libraries cannot happen anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Yay, Lynn!
Hi, everyone. I'm here to speak. Not only I loved what everybody had to say, all of these wonderful educators, but I'm here to speak for the kids. My children wrote this book, What Our Libraries Mean to Us, and I'm just going to show you what kids feel. Just getting up here and speaking about how an adult feels, we know how we feel. We're all out here. My kids couldn't leave school today, so I'm here to represent them. These are children from Young Minds Daycare in Fort Greene. It's called Books. When I open a book, I make a friend. Books are with me from beginning to end. I am in my bed under the cover reading. How else will I be succeeding? Books give you fun, excitement, and joy. They are for every girl, they are for every boy. Our mayor wants to close the door to our libraries. So what do we mean to you, Mr. Mayor? This we can't see. Is it only about money? And that is exactly how they ended this book. This is a book filled with poems written by children and stories about letters to the mayor. We empowered the children. This book is the newest book, and it's called Mr. Wrights Across the Sea Saving Libraries. What makes me sad about this book, Mr. Wrights is a character, the action figure will be out soon. What makes me sad about this book is that third world nations are writing, teachers from third world nations are writing to sympathize with us. What does that say about us if third world nations are saying they feel sorry for us? So I say shame on you, Mr. Mayor, and I say that we have to present the books to him and that they're all making a difference, and we can never stop this fight. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a letter to the mayor that we are presenting the petition with. It says, Dear Mayor Bloomberg, we present you herewith today a printout of more than 15,000 online signatures affixed to our Citizens Defending Libraries petition, Save New York Libraries from Bloomberg Developer Destruction, started by Carolyn McIntyre in February. Our printout from midday Sunday has more than 15,000 online signatures affixed to it, but the petition has many more signatures than that. No sooner was the petition printed with these 15,000 signatures, then more were added, and they keep coming. Do we stop our work with this formal presentation of these signatures today? No. Our campaign continues, and while these are more than 15,000 signatures of individuals with email addresses who signed, many people today still do not have or use email addresses and cannot digitally sign this petition. We have collected even more petition signatures total, if all counted, more than 16,000. This petition to halt the sale, shrinkage, and deliberate underfunding of New York City libraries at a time of city growth and increasing use of libraries is principally addressed to you, but it is not addressed to you exclusively. Though we know that you are soon leaving office, concluding your third term, we know that you will have work to do, that we will have work to do presenting this petition to those who you leave behind and those who will come after you, including library trustees you have appointed, influenced, and encouraged, with your encouragement extending to your, we think, improper use and provision of New York City taxpayer dollars. Our job is not over until such individuals and everyone else understand that the destruction that you have undertaken must cease, and that this course of action This mindset that is hostile to our temples of democracy, learning, and self-education must cease. You, Mr. Bloomberg, could reverse course and communicate the need to pursue the objectives of citizens defending libraries before you leave. We ask that you do so, but we will do what you do not. We will keep sending the message, and we look forward to working with those who replace you and your administration to bring about a far superior state of affairs where our libraries will be honored, properly treated, and expanded, and a new era of hope will prevail. Tonight, we will also be presenting the petition to the Brooklyn Public Library trustees.
We are inviting other people who have been hurt by the sell-off of public assets to join us on a forum November 3rd in Brooklyn Heights. To please connect with us, those of you who have been hurt by the sell-off of hospitals, those of you who are being hurt by the sell-off of schools, those of you who are being hurt by the sell-off of parks, those of you who are being hurt by the sell-off of housing or changing them from housing, being pushed out of housing so that they can make room for luxury housing. And we want to invite the incoming administration to join us in a time of reconnection with the public. We want a renaissance of reconnection to the public, to the people, and a reminder that we are all connected. That if you serve one group at the expense of another, if you push out all of the people who use the libraries so that a few people who are billionaires can have weddings and private functions at libraries, that you are hurting all of us. We truly are all connected now. You cannot do this without hurting all of us, and you're actually hurting yourself because you're giving your children a sense of disconnect, an emotional disconnection from the rest of us, that we are all intricately connected. This is what love is. This is what patriotism is, that we stand together for the good of all. So we invite our public officials to stand with us, to join in a period of renaissance, of reconnection with all people, and to value the worth of all people. And that's what this is about, and that's why I'm doing this.
To Mayor Bloomberg, from one to the other.
This is, hang on, we got a couple more gifts for him. This is 15,000 signatures that we have downloaded. It's 1,384 pages. We are also presenting
2 library books that my children wrote, what our libraries mean to us and how sad they are at the mayor's choice. And this is written by teachers from third world countries feeling sorry for New York. What does that say about us?
And this is the Girl Scouts petition to save the Pacific Library in Brooklyn.
Library, you got it.
And Raging Granny's song.
Got it.
A little song for entertainment.
All right, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
What is your name?
I'm Lieutenant Ralph Nieves.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Lieutenant.
Thank